Hey everyone, ever get that kind of creepy feeling that, something's kind of nudging you online? Like maybe all those ads that are perfectly for you aren't just a coincidence.
Yeah,
Well, today we're diving deep into how AI is shaping our lives every single day. And honestly, it's probably way more than you realize.
it really is true.
Yeah.
I mean, most of us interact with some form of AI like dozens of times a day, and we don't even think about it.
It's wild, right? So we're going to break down three key areas where this is happening. First up, we'll uncover how our smart homes are actually learning our habits. And sometimes it gets, well, surprising.
Oh, yeah.
Then we'll move on to those personalized ads. You know, the ones that seem to know exactly what you want before you even do.
Yeah.
And finally, get ready for the fascinating world of social media algorithms. How are they designed to keep us hooked? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? That's where it gets really interesting. Buckle up.
Let's start with something so many of us use every day, smart homes. Like on the surface, they seem pretty straightforward, right?
Totally, yeah.
Smart speakers, thermostats, maybe a robot vacuum, designed to simplify life.
Make things easier.
Exactly.
But underneath all that convenience, there's more going on, right? It's not just about setting timers, it's about these devices, kind of quietly gathering information about us all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's where machine learning comes in. Imagine like a kid learning to recognize, say, a dog.
Hmm.
At first, you got to show a bunch of examples. Dog, dog, that's a dog. But eventually, they start picking up on those patterns, right?
Makes sense.
Four legs, furry, tail wags, and then boom, they can ID a dog all on their own.
So it's like these smart devices are constantly being shown examples of our behavior, over and over.
Yes, precisely. Every time you adjust that thermostat, dim the lights, or tell your smart speaker to play you that one song, again, you're giving it another data point. And over time, that massive collection of data lets the AI build what we call a digital twin of your home and you, your habits.
Digital twin. Whoa, okay, what does that even mean?
Picture this, a virtual copy of your house. But instead of like furniture and stuff, it's packed with these data points.
Uh-huh.
And every single one represents your interaction with those smart devices.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the AI uses this digital twin to analyze routines, preferences, and even, get this, predict your future actions.
Kind of freaky, right?
So it's not just remembering my playlists, it's like anticipating what I might want to hear based on the time of day, how I'm feeling, or even like if it's raining.
Exactly. Think about it. You ask your smart speaker to order your usual Friday night takeout. It's not just pulling up your last order. It's analyzing your entire order history, maybe even factoring in recent conversations you've had about, I don't know, pizza toppings.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's like a virtual assistant that knows me better than I know myself.
Yeah.
But how does this same tech, how does it work when it comes to those eerily accurate, personalized ads that are like everywhere online?
It's actually kind of similar. So smart homes, they focus on physical interactions in your house. But
Mhm.
online advertising, that relies on your digital footprints.
Every click, every search, every minute you spend scrolling, it's all data points.
Oh.
And the AI can use that to build another digital twin. But this time, it's a digital twin of your online self.
So even if I'm just browsing and not actually searching for something specific, they're still collecting info and using it to target me with those ads.
Oh, absolutely. And it's way more than simple keywords. For example, Google has this algorithm called BERT, and it analyzes the meaning behind what you're searching for, not just the words themselves. So if you search for, say, best vegan leather backpack, the AI might, kind of get the idea that you're into backpacks, but also that you care about ethical, sustainable products, that whole thing.
Oh, wow. So then I might start seeing ads for cruelty-free makeup or eco-friendly clothing, even though I never actually searched for those things specifically.
Exactly. The AI is making connections, these inferences based on the patterns it sees, almost like a mind reader, but for your next shopping spree.
That is both impressive and kind of unsettling.
It's powerful tech, that's for sure. And it's not just for shopping. Let's shift gears to social media, where the algorithms are arguably even more sophisticated. Ever wonder why you can spend hours scrolling through your feed and never get bored?
Honestly, I just thought I was a master procrastinator.
Well, procrastination might play a role, but those platforms are literally built to keep you engaged. They use what we call reinforcement learning to figure out what content is going to keep you hooked.
So how does that work exactly?
It's based on this idea of rewards and punishments. Every time you like something, comment, share, you're basically giving the algorithm a little reward, like, hey, good job, I like this.
Right.
So it learns that this type of content is engaging to you and shows you more of it.
Okay, but what about those times when I just scroll past something without, liking or commenting? Is that like a punishment for the algorithm?
It's not really a punishment, more like it just doesn't get that reward,
Yeah.
So it learns that this content didn't really grab your attention, and it's less likely to show you that type of thing in the future. It's like this constant adaptation, evolving based on your every move.
So it's like a never-ending feedback loop to keep us glued to our screens, right?
Look, but if it's all about keeping us engaged, why does social media, like, bring out the worst in people sometimes?
Hmm.
All those heated arguments, the really divisive content, doesn't exactly feel good all the time.
That's a great point, and it brings us to one of the most fascinating and honestly kind of concerning aspects of these algorithms. Their ability to play on our emotions, especially negative ones. Think about it. What kind of posts tend to get the most reactions, the most comments, the most back and forth?
Probably the ones that make people, like, angry or outraged, right?
Exactly. And that's not an accident. Studies show that content that triggers strong emotional responses, even bad ones, tends to get more engagement. Likes, shares, comments, even arguments. It's wild.
So the algorithm learns that this stuff works at keeping people on the platform, even if it makes the whole online environment, like, more toxic. Yeah, unfortunately, that's part of it. And remember, each of us is getting a tailored experience. Someone who's, say, super into fitness content is going to see a totally different feed than someone who's always engaging with political rants.
It's like we're all trapped in these personalized echo chambers where the algorithm is constantly just amplifying our existing biases.
But that's definitely a risk, and it's something we'll dig into more when we talk about the ethics of all this. But first, let's get into some specific examples of how these algorithms actually operate out in the wild.
Yeah, let's do it. This has definitely given me a lot to think about already. I bet our listeners are feeling the same way. We'll be right back. Okay, so we've uncovered some of the ways AI is like working behind the scenes, but knowing is half the battle, right? So what can we actually do about it?
You're right. Awareness is definitely the first step to, taking control of your whole digital experience.
So does that mean like no more blindly clicking accept on all those cookie banner?
Exactly. Those privacy policies, yeah, they can be super long and boring, but they have important clues about how your data is being collected, how it's used. So, like, take a few minutes, skim through them, especially those parts about data sharing and third-party access.
Okay, I'll try. But honestly, sometimes it feels like I'm just drowning in those personalized ads. They're everywhere. Is there any way to escape?
Well, it's almost impossible to avoid them completely, but you can definitely minimize the impact. Ad blockers are a good place to start. They can prevent a lot of those targeted ads from even reaching you.
I've heard of those, but I never really got how they work. Do they just like block all ads?
Not necessarily. Some are more aggressive than others, but a lot of them let you customize your preferences. So you could, for example, just block the ads that you know are tracking you, or the ones from specific companies that are, I don't know, extra annoying.
Good to know. Good to know. Any other tips for taking back control of the whole online advertising thing?
Absolutely. One thing is to just be more mindful of what you share online. The more info you put out there, the more those algorithms have to work with.
So like maybe think twice before I post that super detailed review of my cat's favorite scratching post.
Exactly. And it's not just about what you post publicly, it's also about the info you give to websites and apps. A lot of platforms will let you adjust your privacy settings so you can limit the data they collect. You should spend some time looking at those options and pick settings that feel right for you.
Okay, I'm going to check that out for sure. But what about those social media algorithms? We talked about how they're designed to, keep us engaged, even if it's driving us crazy. Is there any advice for breaking free from the scroll?
The key is to be more intentional with how you use social media. Instead of just scrolling mindlessly for hours, set some time limits for yourself.
Yeah,
Think of it like budgeting, but for your time.
I like that. It's so easy to fall down those rabbit holes and not realize how much time's gone by.
Totally. And while you are scrolling, pay attention to how the content is making you feel. If you notice that certain posts or accounts are constantly leaving you feeling like drained, anxious, or even angry, it might be time to rethink if you want to keep following them.
So if those perfect vacation photos are making me feel bad, it might be better to like unfollow that travel influencer.
Exactly. You have the power to curate your own feed.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to mute or unfollow accounts that aren't adding anything positive to your experience. And if there are certain topics that just trigger those negative emotions, maybe limit your exposure to those too.
Right. It's easy to forget that we actually have choices when it comes to social media. It can feel so overwhelming.
Absolutely. But it's your digital space, and you have the right to shape it in a way that works for you. And when those algorithms start pushing that divisive content, take a second to recognize what's happening.
You mean, like, realize that they're trying to manipulate my emotions to keep me engaged?
Yes. Instead of getting sucked into those heated arguments, try to seek out content that's more thoughtful, more constructive, even if it doesn't get those big reactions.
So, be the change I want to see in my own feed.
Precisely. Your choices make a difference. Every click, every like, every comment, it all sends a signal. By choosing to engage with positive, constructive content, you can actually help shift the balance, both for yourself and for the online community as a whole.
That's empowering, actually. But let's be realistic, a lot of these tech companies are huge. Does taking individual action really make a difference?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
These companies need our data. They need our engagement. The more people demand transparency and accountability, the more pressure they'll feel to change how they do things.
So it's not just about protecting ourselves, it's also about, like, advocating for bigger changes.
Exactly. Support the organizations that are fighting for data privacy and algorithmic fairness.
Yeah.
Contact your representatives. Tell them you want stronger regulations to protect consumers.
It sounds like we all have a part to play in shaping the future of AI, right?
You got it. AI has the potential to be an amazing tool for good, but only if we use it wisely, responsibly.
But how do we make sure that happens?
Right.
Especially with tech changing so fast, getting more complex all the time.
It's a constant process. We have to stay vigilant and adapt. But I think the most important thing is to remember that we're not powerless. We have choices. We get to decide how we interact with these technologies, what info we share, and what values we want to support.
So awareness, action, and advocacy are the keys to navigating this crazy world of AI.
You nailed it. And it's a journey, not a destination. As technology keeps evolving, we need to stay informed and adapt along with it.
That's a really good point. It can feel overwhelming to keep up with all the changes, but I think you've given us some great insights and some actual tips we can use.
I'm glad to hear that.
Well, we've covered a lot today, but before we move on, I want to remind everyone that this isn't just about, avoiding the bad stuff with AI. There's also a ton of good stuff happening.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what we're going to be exploring in our last segment.
Can't wait.
All right, so it's easy to, get stuck on all the potential downsides of AI, right? But we got to remember, this tech can do a lot of good too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been talking about how AI impacts, us personally, but it's also making huge changes in other areas, healthcare, environmental science, even art and creativity, all that.
Okay, so let's start with healthcare. I've heard about AI being used to, diagnose diseases, even develop new treatments. But honestly, it all sounds so futuristic.
It is cutting edge, but it's becoming more and more real every day. Imagine an AI that can look at medical images like X-rays, MRIs, and spot tiny little things that a doctor might miss.
Whoa, okay, so it's like having another set of eyes, but these eyes are, super powered with algorithms.
Exactly. Plus, these AI systems can analyze tons of data way more than a human could, so they can find patterns, make connections, all that. And that leads to earlier, more accurate diagnoses, which can literally save lives.
That's amazing. Are there other ways AI is being used to improve healthcare? What else is going on?
Oh, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
AI is also being used to develop brand new drugs and therapies. Drug discovery has always been so slow and expensive, but AI can analyze these huge data sets of molecular structures and all this biological info. It can find promising new treatments way faster.
So it's speeding up the process, getting new treatments to people faster.
Exactly. And it's not just about cures, it's about making the treatments we already have even better. AI can personalize treatment plans based on a patient's genes, their lifestyle, all sorts of factors.
So it's truly personalized medicine. That's incredible. It really sounds like AI is revolutionizing healthcare.
Okay, but what about outside the medical field? You mentioned environmental science, right?
Yeah.
How is AI being used to tackle some of the big challenges facing the planet?
This is another really promising area. For example, AI can analyze satellite images, track deforestation, monitor the ice caps, even predict how wildfires might spread.
So it's like a global watchdog, keeping an eye on the health of our planet. That's really cool. In a way, yeah. And this data is so valuable for scientists and policymakers, anyone trying to figure out how to fight climate change and protect our planet.
It's definitely encouraging. It's so easy to feel helpless when you think about the huge scale of these environmental problems. But it sounds like AI could be a really powerful tool to find solutions.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And beyond those big picture applications, AI is also making our everyday lives a lot easier and a lot more fun in so many ways. Think about it, voice assistants, GPS navigation, personalized recommendations for like movies and music.
It's true. I use all that stuff all the time without even thinking about the AI behind it.
Right, it's just become such a normal part of life.
Yeah.
But it's worth appreciating how much AI is enhancing our daily experiences. Everything from helping us find the quickest route home to suggesting a new book we might love.
So it's all about finding the balance, right? Recognizing both the good and the bad, the benefits and the risks, and making sure AI is used responsibly and ethically.
You got it. The future of AI isn't like set in stone. It's something we're all creating together every day. By being informed, getting involved, and thinking critically about how we use this tech, we can steer it in a positive direction.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought to ponder. Now that you know a bit more about how AI is working behind the scenes, all the good and the potentially not so good, what actions will you take to shape your own digital experience? The power is in your hands. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, stay curious.